Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to start off this lesson by giving all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach HaKadosh. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and have taught me this word in truth and sincerity. Peace and mercy to the hopeful elect, starting with the 144,000 and the innumerable multitude that sincerely believe upon the names of Yahweh, his only begotten son, Yahweh Shai. All right, this is your brother Amath from GMS Toronto. Coming at you another lesson. Lord willing, this is straightforward and edifying. So I don't know exactly what I'm going to title this lesson, but the inspiration comes from this brother's video off of Arrows of Indignation. Subscribe and be edified. And you can see the title here. It says, the gravy train is over for Eve in Babylon, and the rest of you women as snaps get cut, right? So first, let's look up what snaps are. I know I looked it up a while ago. I forgot what they are again. What are... Okay, so SNAP says in the United States, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistant Program, SNAPS, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, formerly and colloquially still known as the Food Stamp Program, or simply food stamps, is a federal government program that provides food purchasing assistance for low and no income persons to help them maintain adequate nutrition and health. So that's what SNAPs are. So when we read this title again, it says the gravy train is over for Eve in Babylon. That's right. And the rest of you women as snaps get cut. Okay. And, we say this like a broken record, but it's only going to get worse. All these videos that we see of these people crying, in particular these women crying, right, about the condition that they're going through, that they're living in. This being too expensive, that being too expensive, not enough men. It's only going to get even more severe, okay, as we get closer and closer to the height of Jacob's trouble. All right. This is why, the Spirit has been out this week, if you're keeping up with lessons about Isaiah 4:1. That one Israelite had that dream. Yeah, I have it right here. This guy had that dream. Go watch the Elder Manak to talk about his page here, GMS South Carolina 08. Right? End time dream of YN's mass death and rejected woman. Okay, so this guy had a dream, and a two-part dream on mass death of YNs, right, young niggas, and as well as a mass or a high volume of rejected women. Okay, so for those of you sisters out there that are sincere, really prepare your mind and make sure that you're buckling down on what you need to do to be with a man of the Lord in that time. Because that's the reality. The reality is, hey, how do you know you're going to find a man of the Lord? The Lord's going to have to guide you to that man of the Lord, or vice versa. And it's mostly going to be you being guided to that man of the Lord. Okay? So, this is high time to wake out of sleep, so to speak. And that's not just you coming from in the world into the truth, from out of the world into the truth, but also from a mind of complacency, right? Sleep is also associated with comfort and complacency, right? So as we get closer and closer to Jacob's trouble, man, there's no time for, especially for us men that are on the front lines teaching, to be complacent. And then you women, as I get into this video, in this lesson, you're going to see why complacency is going to get you the worst outcome in Jacob's trouble. Okay. I won't play this video, but yeah, maybe I'll come back to it later. But let me play this video originally.
crystal clear. What this bill did was create the potential for SNAP programs to no longer exist in any shape, form, or fashion in terms of providing SNAP benefits in states that could not afford to or chose not to, for whatever reason, meet the cost sharing. Is that a fair assessment of that, Ms. Green?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Bivens?
Yes, it is.
Ms. Schmidt?
Yes, sir.
I almost just want to sit in silence to let that sink in. The United States of America just signed into law a bill that will allow states, essentially, to determine whether or not they will provide food assistance to anyone. Anyone. Federally funded food assistance to anyone.
See? And this is why a man of the Lord is going to be so precious in that day, okay? Because that man of the Lord, okay, is going to receive all the provisions needed: shelter, food, drink, protection, all right, without relying on Esau Edom's system. That's going to for sure show you that that man, all right, is being dealt with by the Heavenly Father and His Son, Yahweh Yahweh Shai. Okay, see, Esau Edom is about to pull the rug from up under you women. From, you know, you were doing good, living lavishly under Esau Edom's system, Daddy Esau, right? But little did you know, he's the devil. He's the devil, man, the ultimate deceiver. Okay, when you think he's on your side, that's when you should be more cautious of him. Okay, when he acts like he's on your side, and that's going to be shown as you heard what that guy said. Okay, a law has been put into place where states can determine whether you receive those benefits or not, and what are they going to determine those? And what are those determinations going to be based upon? Well, we'll see. Ultimately, everybody's paid and bought for. All your health ministers, these guys that run the food banks, they're all paid and bought for by the top wicked elite. The Lord's going to put a spear on them to reject all you women, man. Evidently, there's going to be a lot of rejecting from Esau, Edom, and from Jake for you women, man. Okay? A lot of you proud-ass women are going to, you're going to feel it in that day. You're really going to feel it. Okay? Let me continue.
How much do you get now? $469. 59-year-old Sharon Perez says even with SNAP, it's hard to keep up with her bills. As a full-time caregiver for her mother, she worries that these changes could put her benefits at risk.
It helps a great deal, but it's not enough still.
For locals like Perez, when the waiver expires in 2026, many more Nevadans will need to work to keep their benefits or risk losing them. So what's changing? Here's a breakdown. SNAP work requirements, which used to stop at the age of 54, will now increase to 64. Parents will only get an exemption if their children are under 14. And automatic exceptions for veterans, the homeless, and former foster youth are being eliminated. State data shows nearly 133,000 Nevadans could be affected.
In New York City, the SNAP and EBT reductions and work requirements are officially started on September 1st, 2025. Okay, as a part of the federal One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Here's what this means for New York City residents. The start date was September 1st, 2025. New federal SNAP rules went into effect nationwide, including New York. November 1st, 2025, additional restrictions will kick in, expanding work requirements to more groups. Starting now, to keep or qualify for your SNAP, many adults must work, volunteer, or attend a training at least 20 hours a week, equaling out to 80 hours a month. Report that they are meeting these requirements to HRA or the OTDA.
And you see, eventually, all right, the reason why all these different government assistance are being pulled back, or rather, there's harsher stipulations, all right, on these government assistance for you to receive them. You have to do more, work more, so on and so forth, is because Esau's putting the squeeze on everybody, right? Especially Jake, because evidently what this is going to lead to is basically you begging out for Esau Edom. If the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shai, isn't dealing with you in the height of Jacob's trouble, when society collapsed, okay, you're going to be begging Esau Edom for his assistance. And what's going to be tied to you receiving his assistance is the MOTB, ultimately. All right? The mark of the beast, which is the sea hip. All right? So that's beginning now. That's beginning now. And they that maintain their faith in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua are going to be taken care of, man. Starting with the men on down. Okay? They're going to be taken care of. Miracles will happen. Some of these men will have spiritual powers, man. right? If their children are sick, because if your child is sick in that time, you're not gonna be able to go to the hospital unless you're plugged in, okay? Unless you're completely plugged in, or you're gonna have to walk your way to one of those safe havens, Esau's so-called safe haven, and take the chip, okay? So some of these men are gonna have spiritual powers to heal themselves, heal their wives, heal their children, receiving provisions, just based upon faith and fear, which is tied to obedience. So, hey, man, hey, brothers, our stock's about to go right through the roof, right through the roof into the heavens. Okay, we just got to continue and maintain. But it's about to get real hectic for the world, but especially these women.
These rules apply to adults up to 54 years old without dependents, under 18, parents with children over 14, people who are not disabled, not pregnant, and not caretakers. Starting November 1st, the rules will expand to adults ages 18 to 64, veterans, homeless individuals, and foster youth ages 18 to 24 will no longer be exempt. Benefit reductions, guys, is insane. New York City households are already seeing monthly SNAP reductions ranging from $72 to $231. Over 281,000 adults in New York City are expected to lose their eligibility. Another 413,000 are at risk. 363,000 children could lose benefits in their households if the adults lose their eligibility. Okay, so what are you going to do? Update your contact info with HRA and USPS. Watch for mail.
It was serious numbers, man. Those are serious numbers that she was laying down. It's gonna get rough.
From HRA about work requirements or exemptions. They changed the Pathways to Home to a new name, NASA, something like that. You'll get a letter in the mail. If you are disabled or pregnant or a caretaker, submit exemption documentation right away. If you are working, report your hours to avoid losing benefits. States already are feeling the impact. Illinois, okay, waivers are expiring. Thousands may lose benefits by early 2026. Pennsylvania, new work will start at September 1st. More changes coming November 1st. Ohio, food banks report millions of pounds of less food due to federal and state cuts. Hawaii facing $700 million in SNAP losses. Non-for-profits are stepping in to help. California, Texas, Florida, and New York each has hundreds of thousands of risk of losing benefits. Please, guys, make sure that you take all of your updated info, your mail, attend community meetings if possible, and also utilize food pantries because this is going to be devastating.
Yeah, and that's not even going to work because there's going to be some kind of black swan event that's going to cause everybody to switch all the information that they use for identifying themselves, all right, to what? To digital. Everything being stored in a cloud. It's already like that. Esau just needs, a major crisis to basically establish that. Right, which is the MOTB, right? Now, you know what? I'm actually going to play this brother's
I don't know, again,
vision. That's what it was. And then I'll get some of the precepts that I was going to bring out here.
So in the dream, there were young men. There were young men that were in old army uniforms, old BUs, like 90s uniforms, not necessarily World War I or II, but they were in like 90s army attire. And they were all younger than me. All these men were younger than me. None of them were millennials. They were all Gen Z men. And they were running into a battlefield. Now, let me describe this battlefield to you. It was very big, it was very wide, and it was dark outside. So it was nighttime. So the grass was dark green, but had that very much black hue over it. And the men were running into the battlefield and being shot down. I mean, shot in the head, shot in the chest, shot down. It was every last one of them. They were all running out with weapons. They were running out with old guns that the military no longer uses in combat. M16s are not used in the military combat anymore. And they were running out there with them, and they were not using them properly. They were flailing above the head, going, and they're running out there and dying. They were just getting slaughtered. And the thing is, nobody was actually shooting at them. They were running to a tree line, a dark tree line. And as they would run, bullets would fly out from over there. They were just flying. And you couldn't see who was shooting. There was no person over there actually shooting. They were running to a dark tree line and just being shot. They wouldn't even make it to the tree line before they would be shot. This field that they were in had to be about the size of maybe a football and a half, long, a football field and a half long. And it was being covered in blood. The men were being picked up by these old looking, I want to say World War I, the term World War I keep popping in my head, but they look like World War I ambulances. And the medics kept trying to come out there and pick up the bodies and pick up the wounded. And there were so many young men dying and being shot and wounded till when wounded men were collected by the medics, they would eventually die because what was happening is there were so many dead men that 7 of them would be stuffed into the back of these ambulances at a time. They would be stuffed in, and the wounded would die because they were among the dead. It was so much dying going on. It was horrific to see. And the scene ended up turning red. these young men were going out there and dying and not even having a chance. Like, they wouldn't duck. They had no guidance. They had no formation. They had no understanding. They literally did not know how to fight in this battle, and they were just.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. Even though I'm kind of focusing on the women, hey man, it's really gonna be crazy for all of Israel, right? You hear him talking about all these different young men, which we call them YNs, right? Young niggas. You're gonna be out there. You're gonna be drafted out there, all right, to be slaughtered. Really, that's all you're gonna be. You're gonna be what do they call it? Cannon fodder. Cannon fodder. Okay, lots of blood, man. The scriptures say the horse's bridle, right? The blood should go to the horse's bridle. Let me get that real quick. That Revelation 14. Bear with me here. 19. You know, I'm going to have to look for it. Slacker. Let me just quickly find this. It's Revelation 14 and 20. Revelation 14 and 20. It says here, and the winepress, let me start at 19. It says, and the angel thrust in his sickle into the earth and gathered the vine of the earth. And that angel that's thrusting in his sickle is Yahweh Shai. Okay? And the sickle is what you use for harvesting, right? I mean, cutting crop. So this is a great harvest. It says, and gathering the vine of the earth and cast it into the great winepress of the wrath of Yahweh, B'Hashem Yahweh Shai. So that brother's vision of all these YNs being drafted into war and being shot up and being killed and basically being slaughtered and defenseless, that's a part of the wrath, all right, of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai. Okay? And it says, and the winepress was trodden without the city, and blood came out of the winepress even until the horse's bridle, man. That's a lot of blood. There's going to be a lot of blood that the Lord is going to spill of Israelites, man. Because remember, this controversy is not only just with the nations, Esau, Edom, and the rest, but it's with his own people, 2/3 of his own people, man. And blood came out of the winepress even until the horse's bridle, by the space of 1,600 furlongs. That's a lot of blood, man. A lot of blood. So a lot of men are gonna be killed. Hence why men are gonna be scarce. And if men are gonna be scarce, how much more men of the Lord? They're gonna be super, super scarce. That's why you women out there that you claim to believe sincerely in the truth, you better hope, obviously you're a part of your prayer and hope is that the Lord, all right, put you with the man of the Lord, put you with one of his prophets, okay? Because it's only going to be the spirit of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai is going to be able to lead you to one of those men, okay? You're not going to just find them and know that's who they are. You might because of, you watch the videos, you see their faces, but again, how do you know where to find these men when all hell breaks loose? It's not like we're just going to be posted up on the corner prophesying. Right? So you got to, hey, man, make sure, obviously that's a part of your prayer, man. The Lord keep you in his faith and with fear so that, you could find one of his men.
Just running out there in charge and being slaughtered. And so the ambulances weren't even being touched. That's the thing. The ambulances were clean, but they were very old. No rust or anything, but they were very old style, like literally World War I old. I don't know why I keep saying World War I, but the medics themselves were never being shot. They were helping, but they were out there, but they weren't being shot. So now that was the first dream. And by the end of the dream, the field was covered in blood that would not dry up. It was blood it would remain red. It was so much blood, it covered the dark hue that came from the night sky. It was just so much. And it was horrible. This dream ended. Then months later, I had another dream. And for those that understand what I'm saying, if you understand what I'm saying, this dream was connected to the first one, even though they were months apart. And I'll tell you how I know. You'll hear it when I talk about it. In the second dream, it was about Generation Z women. There were no millennial women in this. It was Generation Z women and millennial men. They were the only ones I saw in this. So the Generation Z women were running around holding babies. They were holding their children, and they were running around looking for men. They were asking men to marry them. They were telling men, please. They were telling the millennial men, please marry me. Please marry me. If you don't marry me, I won't survive. I won't be protected. No one will care. Help me. And a lot of the men were turning them down. The men were telling them, I'm not raising you in those babies. I'm not raising you in that baby. And what it was, like, it came to me. Those women were actually the mothers to the children that were the children of the men that had died in the first dream. They were all of the children were born out of wedlock. Every last one of them were born out.
And I'm just saying this for myself, but yeah, man. Hey, I'm definitely gonna be choosy in that day. Lord willing, I'm of the hopeful elect. I'm a man of the Lord. I'm definitely gonna be choosy in that day, man. Okay, because at the end of the day, the only women that the men are gonna take with them, all right, the men of the elect, are gonna be women that are of the elect. Okay, so hey, if I don't get no sign from the Lord, all right, or Yahweh Shai talking about, hey, she's one of the elect, I ain't opening my door to you. Nope, not whatsoever, man.
Wedlock, and the women were running around trying to find a man that would marry them. They were even offering themselves in ways that they probably normally wouldn't do. I could hear so many different voices. I could hear so many different arguments, so many different disagreements, and so many different denials. And the women were running to the men, and they were telling the men, marry me. I don't care what I have to do. And some of the women even said, I'll be your seventh wife. I'll be your seventh wife. I don't care. I don't care if I'm the seventh one. And so the men were listening, and some of the men would choose as many women as they could.
Yeah, because it's not like Isaiah 4:1. Like, Isaiah 4:1 is not the forefront of our minds. We know it's a part of prophecy, but what's at the forefront of our mind is setting this earth back into order, right? Bringing the earth back into a righteous paradise as it intended. It was created to be, intended to be. So we're not just going to be, all of a sudden Isaiah 4:1 has happened, we're just picking women, every woman that we see, but yeah, come here. No, it's not going to be like that. You know, the amount of discretion and wisdom we have to use now is even going to be more extreme in that time. That's why I said what I said earlier about the Lord's going to have to give me a sign to accept just any woman, just because you look good and it's Isaiah 4:1. No, I'm gonna accept, because anything could be hey, who knows if you have men like that who will just accept any woman, and that woman, you know, it's not of the elect, and you accept her in your household, and she's your ticket out of the chariots. All right, she's your ticket out of the chariots, out of salvation. So you're gonna have to be circumspect. You can't just accept any woman in the time of Jacob's trouble. Okay.
Some of the men chose none of them. A lot of them chose none of those women. And what they were saying was, I can't help you. I can't afford you. I don't want that baby. I don't want to raise another man's baby. I don't want to have anything to do with you. Why didn't you want me when I wanted you? What's going on now? No, I don't need that. But one of the statements stuck out.
So, hey, a lot of these women are going to be women that we've known in the world that rejected us.
To me. One statement said, I don't want to raise that child because I don't know anything about his father. If you know anything about the connection between young boys and their fathers, you kind of understand how severe this is. The millennial men were telling the women, I don't want what their father has to come into my household. And so they would deny the women. And some of the men even told the women, I'll take you, but you have to leave the baby. And a few of the women chose to leave the child just so they can be wives. There was women running around saying, God, please give me a husband. I don't want to live with my reproach. I don't want to live with my reproach. I don't want to live like this anymore. And Scripture talks about this. Scripture talks about women who will want men and will be fine with basically being their wives up until the seventh wife. All of this, it's in there. So,
yep. Once society crashes, nature will take its course. Nature will take its course once society crashes. Okay, everything you women, and I'll say you men too, but mainly you women, know and understand when it comes to a relationship and the dynamics of a man and a woman was taught to you by the devil. All right, his physical counterpart, Esau, Edom. All right, the ultimate deceiver. So When society crashes, which it will soon, nature will take its course. How things should really be. All right? You'll see. You'll see.
That was the second dream. Those women were like, I had one run up to me and she said, she was like, "Will you marry me?" And I said, "No." And she was like, "Why? Why won't you marry me?" And I told her, I said, I can't afford you. Remember? Like, it just came out. I wasn't even really thinking about it. I was like, "I can't afford you. Remember?" And she broke down. She started crying. She started begging. She said, "Please, I need a protector. I need a protector. I need somebody who can help me." And they were frantic. It was so many women. It was so many women. These were all the, for lack of a better term, these were all the baby mothers of the men that had died in the first dream. And it was pitiful. It was very sad. And that was the second dream. I didn't understand that one fully when it first happened. But what I did feel like was that a big war was coming.
Yeah. So, anyways, you heard it. So let's get this precept here. Let's go to Isaiah 32. Isaiah 32 and 12. Or 32 and, Isaiah 32. I'm actually going to get Isaiah 3. Isaiah 3 and 16. I'm going to read down to 26. And then I'm going to pull out this conversation I was having with chat on this scripture. You get a little bit of insight. So Isaiah 3 and 16, it says, "Moreover, the Lord Yahweh saith, because the daughters of Zion are haughty." And when you see daughters in plural, it's talking about the women of Israel. But when you see daughter, as in singular, it's talking about the whole nation of Israel, starting with the men. So, moreover, the Lord Yahweh saith, because the daughters of Zion are haughty and walk with stretched forth necks, wanton eyes, walking and mincing as they go, and making a tinkling with their feet. Therefore, the Lord Yahweh will smite with a scab. Yahweh Shem El Shai will smite with a scab the crown of the head of the daughters of Zion, and the Lord Yahweh will discover their secret parts. And obviously that's a curse that plays out till today. And something I was thinking about is, if that's a curse upon, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, right? The southern kingdom women. If that's a curse upon you while society is still up and running, you have your salons, you got your weeds, and you got soap, you got water to wash yourself, all that stuff. Because the Lord says He's going to discover the secret parts, right? Going into the smell. How much more, will that curse take an effect when all hell breaks loose and society shuts down? You don't got your hot water. You don't got your hair salons. And you can't just go pick up your weaves and this, that, and the third. You see? And this is even more of a reason why men of the Lord are going to be choosy. We're not just going to pick a bald-ass woman. I mean, hey, whatever. Hey, we'll pick whoever the Lord tells us to pick. But still, that's just something to think about, man. It's going to get real bad out here for these women. Okay? Everybody, but really, in particular, you women. All right? Because you're a weaker vessel. Okay? So it says, verse 12 or verse 17, therefore the Lord, I'll read it again. Therefore the Lord Yahweh Shem El Shai will smite with a scab the crown of the head of the daughters of Zion, and the Lord Yahweh will discover their secret parts. In that day the Lord Yahweh Shem El Shai will take away the bravery of their tinkling ornaments about their feet, and their casuals, and their round tires like the moon. Yep. So all your Louis Vuitton bags, your red bottoms, all these different dresses and skirts and lingerie and earrings and jewelry that you use to prop yourself up, right, in your own pride, all that's going to be taken away. Okay. OnlyFans is going to be done with. Okay. It says the chain, verse 19, the chains and the bracelets and the mufflers and the bonnets and the ornaments and of the legs and the headbands and the tablets and the earrings, the rings and the nose jewels, the changeable suits of apparel and the mantles and the wimplets and the crisping pins, the glasses, and the fine linen, and the hoods, and the veils. And it shall come to pass that instead of a sweet smell, there will be stink, and instead of a girdle, a rent, right? So a pouch, a stomach, right? Overweight stomach, and instead of well set hair, baldness, and instead of a stomacher, a girding of sackcloth, and burning instead of beauty. Damn. Let me read this NLT, verse 24. Instead of smelling a sweet perfume, she will stink. She will wear a rope for a sash, and her elegant hair will fall out. She will wear rough burlap instead of rich robes. Shame will replace her beauty. I'll read 25 and 26 NLT. It says, the men of the city will be killed with the sword. Her warriors will die in battle. See, that's going into the dream that one Jake had. A lot of these YNs dying, all right, while leaving their baby moms, okay, in the cities, being slaughtered in war, okay? They're being slaughtered in war. It says, verse 26, the gates of Zion will weep and mourn. The city will be like a ravished woman, right? And the city is a people before it's a place. So all of Israel, outside of the elect, are going to be like a ravished woman, men and women alike. Women will literally be ravished, those that are not the elect, okay? The gates of Zion will weep and mourn will weep and mourn. The city will be like a ravished woman huddled on the ground. Right? So let's go to chat here. And then I was just asking for some insight and context of what was going on during the time of Isaiah chapter 3 and what we just read from verse 16 to 26. And we're going to get as well as how that plays out to today's time, how that will play out in today's time and in Jacob's trouble. So it says here, context in Isaiah's time. Isaiah was warning Judah and Jerusalem about Yahweh's judgment for their sins. The nation was corrupt, leaders were greedy, justice was twisted, the poor were oppressed. The men were being cut down by war and captivity. The women, especially the elite, were strutting in pride, dressing luxuriously, chasing attention, walking in sensual arrogance. So Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, through Isaiah, paints this vivid picture. Their pride will be stripped, their beauty marred, their security gone, their men fallen by the sword, and the women left desolate and mourning. This wasn't just social commentary, it was prophecy. All right, so verse 16 to 17, it says, the daughters of Zion are haughty and walk with stretched forth necks and wanton eyes. The Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, will smite with a scab the crown of their head. The women flaunted beauty, wealth, and sensuality. Yahweh declares, instead of beauty, disease, baldness, and shame. Yep. Verse 18 to 23, the long list of ornaments, anklets, bracelets, perfume boxes, vials, and jewels shows their obsession with outward show. You see? A lot of you women are better off just focusing on dressing in a humble attire, man. I'm not saying you can't have earrings and certain bracelets, but there is a level to that. Okay? As you can see, really the main purpose of wearing wearing jewelry upon your body is so that you can get attention. Is there anything wrong with that? If you have a man, you should only be wearing it for your man. Or else, who else do you want? Who else's attention do you want? If you just keep it simple, all the different jewelry and ornaments that our women wore and wear today are so they can attract eyes upon their bodies. If you have a man, you have a husband, You have no reason to do that. And even if you don't, in today's time, you might not want to do that because you might attract the wrong eyes. Find him in your backyard waiting for you to be asleep. All of a sudden, he's in your room. And you're tied up behind in the trunk of his car. Hey, we're in crazy times right now, man. You don't want to attract a lot of attention to yourself. Okay? Unnecessary attention. So it says, shows their obsession with outward show. Yahweh strips it away. No ornament, only humiliation. Okay? Verse 24. Instead of sweet smell, there shall be stink, and instead of a girdle, rent, and instead of well-set hair, baldness. The ultimate reversal. Their pride becomes decay. Their vanity and comfort dissolves into suffering. Verse 25 to 26. Thy men shall fall by the sword, and she, being desolate, may sit upon the ground. With the men slaughtered in war, the women are left without protection, without covering, sitting in grief and disgrace. Okay, let me get this precept real quick. 2 Ezra 16 and 32. I'll read to 34. 2 Ezra 16 and 32, it reads, the earth shall be laid waste, and the fields thereof shall wax old, and her ways and all her path shall grow full of thorns, because no man shall travel there through. Talking about the land of Israel and how it's going to be left desolate. But like we always say, a place is a people before it's a place. So you can link this to the people of Israel, okay, in Jacob's trouble. Okay, and it says the virgins, because the reason why I say that is because we're going to be, just like the land will be in rough times, because no one's going to till the land, water the earth, so forth and so on. It's going to be the same thing for the people of Israel in Jacob's trouble, man. Okay, the majority of you are going to be without help, destitute. All right, you're going to be put to death. Your families are going to be slaughtered. It's going to be bad, man. I'm just giving to you straight. There's no other way for me to break it down to you. It's going to be bad. But those of you that survive and you're not of the elect, you're going to succumb to Esau, Edom, and take the sea hip. Okay? And then you're going to get slaughtered by the missiles and the host of heaven with Yahweh Shai. And so it says, verse 33, the virgins shall mourn, having no bridegroom. The women shall mourn, having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. You see? In the wars, verse 34, in the wars shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine. Okay? So let's go back here. I'll read this one more time. So verse 25 and 26. They shall fall by the sword, and she being desolate shall sit upon the ground. With the men slaughtered in war, the women are left without protection, without covering, sitting in grief and disgrace. Okay? Now, prophetic link to today. It says, now apply this to modern times with civil unrest, famine, and violence. It says, prideful women humbled. Today, much of society prizes vanity, fashion, social media, obsession, flaunting, wealth, and beauty. In chaos, riots, famine, collapse, makeup, luxury, and soft life means nothing. Food, safety, and survival matters more. This is why I said earlier, you women, when you go out of your house and you dress, really think about what you're putting on and why you're putting it on. Okay? And 99% of the time, you're gonna find to realize that you put it on for attention, even when you have a man, which is adultery. Now, this is an adulterous generation. Nevertheless, being aware of that, you want to do your best to dress modestly. Obviously, we can't be, some of you women are able to get out the house and go about your day wearing, how can I say it, traditional attire. But, we're in 2025 in Babylon, so you got to use the world, not abuse it. But still, that's something to have at the forefront of your mind, or at the back of your mind, all right, in your mind, of just being humble, wearing humble attire, and not wanting to have all eyes on you. Okay, because again, you're most likely going to attract the wrong eyes here in 2025 and find yourself in a serious case. Okay, but the main point is to be humble. None of this stuff in this society matters. It's all going to fade away. Basically, it's all going to fade away. All right, and nature will take its course. So I'll read this again. In chaos, riots, famine, collapse, makeup, luxury, and soft life mean nothing. Food safety and survival matters more. The stripping away. Just as Yahweh, Bashim El-Shai, stripped their jewelry and perfume, crisis strips today's women of modern ornaments, status, independence, so-called. Okay, that's a lie. Just because you're not with the Israelite man doesn't mean you're independent. You just swapped men. You went from the Israelite man to Esau Edomite man. Okay? And by the way of the system. Okay, you still rely on this man's system, which means you still rely on Esau Edom. All right, so, hey, independence is just a lie. It says status, independence, digital, attention, luxury, lifestyle. Instead of sweet smell, perfume, there will be stink. Literally from a lack of hygiene in famine, or figuratively from moral decay. Yep. Men cut down, women vulnerable. In Isaiah's day, men fell by the sword. In modern unrest, men are killed in wars, gang violence, police crackdowns, or famine-driven riots. Women left without stable men protection face, oh, look at that. Let me read that again. Women without stable men protection, because not just any man's going to be able to protect you. Okay, Isaiah 33:6, wisdom and knowledge should be the stability of thy time, and the fear of the Lord is his treasure. So that man that is stable and has his wisdom and knowledge and understanding is what's going to lead to true protection. Okay, so it says women left without stable men protection face exploitation, assault, trafficking, and fear. The value of righteous men, Isaiah 4:1, flows right after. 7 women shall take hold of one man, and we all know that precept. I don't have to get it out. In chaos, women will realize that a man of Yahweh, stable, grounded, able to lead, provide, and protect is more precious than gold. Isaiah 13:12. Yep, let me get that real quick. Because a lot of these precepts we already know, and we're bringing them out constantly. But hey, the prophecy is speaking, so that's why it comes out more and more. So Isaiah 13:12, it says, I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than the golden wedges of Ophir. Okay? So back here, it says, a man who knows the truth of Yahweh, Bashim El-Shai, will be rare and indispensable, while shallow men collapse under pressure. Damn. Amen. It's all going to pay off. So how women will be affected, their pride and sense of independence will be shaken. They'll feel the weight of insecurity, violence in the streets, famine, and no comfort zone. They'll see the futility of chasing vanity and turn desperately towards men of stability and truth. Yep. How men will be valued. A righteous man becomes a covering a protector, a guide. In scarcity, this wisdom is several and slake. In scarcity, this wisdom is survival, and his fear of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai makes him a refuge. Women will cling to such men, not for romance, which comes from Rome, okay, but for life and honor. So they're going to have to, so, hey, women are going to humble the hell down when all hell breaks loose, man. All right, excuse my French, but they're going to humble the fuck down. As Isaiah 4:1 says, we'll clean our own, we'll have our own bread, right? Take care of ourselves. Just let us be called by your name. Let us be married to you. And what consummates marriage? Sex. Okay? So there's going to be a whole lot of that going on for you to be called a wife, all right, or to be attached to a man of the Lord. All right? So they're going to humble down, man. They're going to do whatever it takes to survive. Man. And that's not to say we're going to be wicked. Of course not. We're not going to be wicked. Because that would be what's the word I'm looking for? That would be counterintuitive, so to speak, for lack of a better term. So it says, women will cling to such men, not for romance, but for life and honor. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. Isaiah 4:1, man. So, in short, it says Isaiah chapter 3 shows the collapse of a society where vanity, arrogance thrive, and Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai strips it bare. In our world, when unrest and famine hit, women who live by pride and vanity will be left vulnerable. Men of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai who stand firm in truth and righteousness will become rare and invaluable anchors in a storm of chaos. Okay? So, yeah, man, that's it. I didn't want to make this too long, but I'm sure I made the point. So with that, I'm going to close and give all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Rakah Kadash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and have taught me this word in truth and sincerity. And peace and mercy to the hopeful elect, starting with the 124,000 that's pushing this word in truth and sincerity across the four corners of the earth, as well as the innumerable multitude that sincerely believe in the names of Yahweh and His only begotten Son, Yahushai. All right. Lord willing, this lesson was straightforward and edifying. Kwama Shala, and Shalom to the hopeful elect.